Thank you. I'm Mr. Lehner, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Mr. Lehner's Math Extravaganza. Today we look at prime factorization, and particularly factor trees. Let's take a look at what that is. When using prime factorization or factor trees, one of the uses is to find the LCM. You might be wondering to yourself, what does LCM mean again? Oh yeah, that's the least common multiple. So you can use your prime factorization to find the least common multiple of a set of numbers. How to do this, and there's three little steps here, is first find the prime factorization of each one of your numbers, 2, identify all common prime factors, and 3, find the product of all prime factors using each common prime factor once and any remaining or leftover factors. You might have a really confused look on your face right now and saying, what does all these words mean? Well, let's take a look at an example, and it might make a little bit more sense to you. If I asked you to find the prime factorization of two numbers, and let's say these two numbers are 16 and 12, and I wanted you to find the least common multiple. Well, the first step you could take is to find the prime factorization. I have a little trouble with our board today. Is to find the prime factorization of each one of our numbers. So, I'm going to start with 16. I'm going to kind of draw my carrots out to the side like this. And I have to ask myself, what two factors can I multiply together to get 16? Well, I could use 2 times 8. I could use 4 times 4. Whatever's more comfortable for you. I'm going to start with 2 times 8. Anytime I have a prime number, I'm going to circle it. Well, 2 is a prime number. I can't factor that number out anymore. I take a look at 8. I know that I can break 8 into 2 times 4. Well, 2 is a prime number, I'm going to circle that one. And I know I can break 4 into 2 times 2. I would circle those. I just use prime factorization to figure out my prime factors for 16, which are 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Let's take a look at 12. I'm going to do the same exact thing to 12 on this side. Okay, so I'm going to break 12 into 2 times 6. Sometimes it's easier with the even numbers just to start with 2. 2 is a prime number, and I can break 6 into 2 times 3. 2 is prime, and 3 is prime. So we have just completed the first 2 steps of the process. We found the prime factorization, and we circled all the prime numbers. We're now going to partner them up and write them once. So I see a 2 over here and a 2 over there. So those are buddies. I'm going to write that down one time. I also see a 2 here and a 2 here. I'm going to write it down one time. And the last step is to write all the remaining factors. There's a 2 there. There's a 2 there. And there was a 3 on that side. Make sure you're only writing the prime factors. Do not write 8, do not write 4, do not write 6 on that side because you've already broken those numbers down. So now I need to multiply these numbers together. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 would be 8. 8 times 2 would be 16. 16 times 3 would be 48. So the least common multiple between 16 and 12 would be 48. Again, I followed those 3 steps. I listed out the prime factorization of each number. I circled all the prime numbers that were here. I buddied them up and wrote it one time. And then I wrote the remaining factors that were left, multiplied them together, and 48 became my LCM. Let's also take a look at how to use our prime factorization to find the GCF. And again, you might be thinking to yourself, what does GCF mean? I know it's something we've talked about in class. Oh, that's right, it's the greatest common factor. So I can use these factor trees to find the GCF as well. We're going to follow these same 3 steps again. We're going to find the prime factorization of each number we have. We're going to identify all the common prime factors. And then step 3, we're going to find the product of all the prime factors using each common prime factor one time. There's only one difference. I'm not going to add in any of the leftover factors. So let's take a look at 16 and 12 again. I've already done the work for these factor trees. So we said that the main difference is we're only going to write what they have in common. So, we had 1, 2 on one side, partnered up with the other side, write it down once. 1, 2 on this side, partnered up with the 2 on this side, I write it down once, and then I'm done. I don't write any of the extra prime numbers on the side. Remember, I'm finding the GCF now. So I just do 2 times 2, which is 4, and the greatest common factor between 16 and 12 is 4. So again, I've used one method, but I was able to find the GCF, and I was also able to find the LCM of both of those numbers. Alright, again, my favorite part of the video. Go ahead and get that pencil out, take out that paper, and take a look at what I'd like you to try. I want you to use prime factorization to find the GCF and the LCM of these two numbers, 30 and 18. And let's see what you can come up with. Go ahead and pause that video. Okay, when finding our GCF and LCM of 30 and 18, the first step you're going to do is your factor tree. So 30, and you may have used different factors than I used, that's okay. I'm just going to start with 2 times 15. Again, it's an even number, 2 sometimes is the easiest. 15 I can break down into 3 times 5. So your prime factorization should be 2 times 3 times 5 for 30. Let's look at 18. If I break 18 down, again I'm going to start with 2. 2 times 9. 2 is a prime factor. I can break down 9 into 3 times 3. Okay? So now I've done the prime factorization of both numbers. I've also circled what they have in common. I'm going to start by finding the least common multiple. Remember, with the least common multiple, I'm going to list all the ones they have in common. I see 1, 3 here, and 1, 3 here. I'm going to write it down once. I see 1, 2 here, and 1, 2 there. I'm going to write it down once. And I see a 5 on this side, but no 5 there. I'm going to, since I'm finding my least common multiple, I'm going to write what's left. There is a 5 on this side, and a 3 on this side. Now, when working with least common multiple, if you want to arrange your numbers, sometimes it's easiest to go from the lowest amount to the highest. That's perfectly fine. So if I did 3 times 2, 3 times 2 would be 6. 6 times 5 would be 30. 30 times 3 would be 90. So the least common multiple between 30 and 18 would be 90. Let's take a look at GCF. When finding the GCF, remember there's one step that's different. All I'm going to write is the ones they have in common. So they had a 2 in common, and they also had a 3 in common. So 2 times 3 would be 6. The greatest common factor of 30 and 18 would be 6. So again, this is one of the methods you guys can try. Again, it will find the GCF. It will also find the LCM of numbers. You can use it with a set of numbers. It doesn't just have to be 2. There could be 3 numbers, 4 numbers, 5 numbers. This strategy will work for all types. It will also save you some time when you're trying to figure out some of these problems, and especially those favorite things that you guys love to do, those word problems. Thank you for tuning in to another Rebel Sword Miscellaneous Math Extravaganza. We'll see you next time.